The subject is indeed stress, something, as you've already indicated by suggesting this for an idea, that most of you have or will experience. Whether we work from home, in an office, manage a home and or family, or even just managing our own individual selves, life is busy, and that can sometimes have negative effects on our bodies as well as our emotional and mental health. And of course, this time of year has the potential to wreak even more havoc on us. The holidays can be really great, you all know that. You see friends and relatives, and there's the overall festive environment. But we're also bombarded with extra things to do, lots of extra food options, social options. Finding time for a quick workout can be difficult. And of course, the holidays can be an emotional time, remembering loved ones that are no longer here. In other words, life can be a lot to manage if we don't keep things in check. So over the next 50 minutes or so, our panelists will share how we can fully engage in our work and personal lives without going through the motions or leaving us exhausted. Also, we'll have a special treat, as you can tell by this setup over here, a cooking demo of a healthy snack at the end of the Q&A. And if you want a sneak peek about that, the recipe is already on your table. Now, let me introduce the panelists. Michael Davis is the chaplain at Baylor Hamilton Heart and Vascular Hospital. He's the principal investigator for a research study looking at depression recognition and interventions in the inpatient setting. Prior to Baylor, he worked in hospice for nearly 12 years. Justin Walters is a certified strength and conditioning specialist and has completed his MS in athletic administration along with a BS in kinesiology. During the course of his career, Justin has successfully served with the Chicago Cubs as an assistant coach for player development. Don't you wish you had been here this year?
My phone blew up.
I'll bet. And rehabilitation, as well as a strength coach for the Phoenix Suns and Mercury. Forgive my ignorance about sports. The Phoenix Suns are?
NBA and Mercury is WNBA.
Okay, thank you. He currently serves as the manager for strength and conditioning for the Baylor Tom Landry Health and Wellness Center. Chef Zoe Muller is co-author of a cookbook that focuses on eating healthy before and after cancer. And Zoe, would you mind pronouncing the name for us? It's in Spanish, and I think you could probably
Yes,
handle it better
of
than
course.
us.
Es alimentándose bien durante el cáncer.
Which translates to?
Is that pretty long? It's eating well through cancer, but in Spanish it translates to alimentándose bien durante el cáncer.
I think I like the Spanish too. She graduated from the Cordon Bleu of Culinary Arts and currently works at Baylor Dallas for the Baylor Charles A. Sammons Cancer Center, as well as their Diabetes Health and Wellness Institute in Nutrition Services, where she conducts various cooking demos for patients. And we welcome back Julie Smith. She's a registered and licensed dietitian at Baylor Scott and White Health in the Tom Landry Health and Wellness Center, the Baylor Center for Inflammatory Bowel Diseases, and the Integrative Medicine Clinic. She enjoys educating patients and clients on the proper diet to manage their weight, improve their health, and prevent chronic disease. Please welcome our panel. Okay, let's kick off by hearing, we tend to do this every time we have one of these sessions, so let's kick off by hearing from each of you. What is something that tends to stress you, and how do you go about tackling it? We'll start with you.
So for me, it's the, actually, we'll talk about this more later, the social context. In spite of my role as a chaplain, I'm very introverted. So there's a lot of stress associated with like social things. So if I have to pop a pill or something, you'll understand.
Is that your means of tackling it?
Yeah, my means of tackling it is the fact that I love people and love being involved with people and the experience of talking with people and listening to their stories.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I'm able to kind of separate it from the social situation and just be more one-to-one,
Sure.
That's a very gratifying experience.
I'll bet. Justin?
I have teenage children.
Oh.
So I have two kids. They're about to turn 16 in a couple weeks, and so that's pretty much the height of my stress right now.
And how do you handle that?
Don't let them grow up. No, I mean, ultimately, you just have to find ways to cope and look at the situation as it is, and this goes not just for that. Of course, it's funny and humorous, but it kind of relates to everything in a sense. You just figure out ways to understand it and make your peace with it and move on. And hopefully prepare them, in this case, prepare them the best that we can by letting them drive while I'm sitting in the passenger seat, which if any of you have done that, it's terrifying. But, just try to prepare them the best I can and then hope for the best.
Pretty much a go with the flow kind of thing?
In that situation, yeah, you kind of have to, because they're not going to stop getting older.
No.
They certainly aren't going to let us not let them drive, so. But that's kind of the height of the stress right now for me.
Wow, okay. Chef Zoe?
Well, I have to say that I don't get stressed too, easily. I really don't.
That's true.
I have a lot of patience, but I think during the holidays, it happens that most of my family members call me to ask me for recipes, and it's when I'm the busiest because I have a lot of caterings going on. So everybody wants to do healthy cooking during the holidays, so I get bombarded with people asking me, what can I make for the holidays, or can you send me a whole menu of recipes? But I guess you just have to eat healthy. I guess it really helps your brain too. It started, eating in the morning, and our dietitian here can say that as well. But I don't get stressed too often. So, and my therapy is always getting in the kitchen, creating new recipes. I guess that really helps a lot. So finding a way of a good hobby that can really bring your stress down is important. For me, is cooking, so I think it's good for me.
Something that relaxes you
Yes,
and you
absolutely.
truly enjoy, I guess.
Yes, creating new recipes, so that's kind of my
Julie?
therapy, yes.
Okay, sorry.
Well, I don't know if any of you can relate, but I'm a chronic to-do list maker. And it's a good thing because I'm adding on, work goals or personal goals, but it's very stressful when the list gets longer and longer and longer and things aren't getting checked off. So every once in a while I have to just put that away and have a day where I just try to do nothing, which is really hard to do. But mostly my stress relief is exercise, actually. There's nothing like just either a really good, intense, all-out workout, or yoga is something I probably should do more of, but also very good for stress relief. So if I'm exercising, at the end of the day, that's the perfect end to my day. If I don't get it, I just feel different.
Well, I'm sure either you or Justin can answer this, but how does exercise relax us? What is it that actually happens that brings that
It's
stress
the
level down?
endorphins.
No, so yeah, basically what happens is there's a chemical reaction in the brain,
Mhm.
and it releases chemicals that access the pleasure centers of the brain, similar to whenever you eat chocolate.
Which
So-
you can also do.
But there's actually a chemical reaction, which I can go into the science of if any of you are really interested, but it's a whole chapter in a very large book. But ultimately, a chemical reaction happens within the body that hits the pleasure centers of the brain and allows the brain to send out all the chemicals that it needs to not only relax the body, but heal the body, and it releases anti-inflammatories throughout the body. It just does a multitude of different things all at one time. And so it's kind of a catch-all drug, if you will.
Well, since we're on the subject of exercise, besides getting up from the workstation and taking a walk, how do we relieve stress when we're working on a project or a tight deadline?
So stress is a lot like dehydration. Once you realize you have it, it's already too late. Hold on,
Yeah, really, there's gotta be some hope in there somewhere.
there are cures, but just sort of like when you're dehydrated, you're like, mouth, you get the chapped lips, and you get a headache, and you're like, have I drinking any water today? No, okay. And so stress is a lot that way. Once you realize you're stressed out, you've already gone through all the steps and the processes to become stressed out.
Mhm.
So now you're trying to catch up to it. So my advice is to, one, try to stay ahead of it through exercise, through diet, through hobbies. Anybody have a hobby? What's your hobby? Running.
Right.
Anybody else? Anybody crochet or cross stitch? Do I have those right? Not a knitter.
Right,
Okay.
somebody raise their hand back there.
But honestly, and I know that time is always an issue, but find yourself something you like to do other than watch TV. Not that watching TV is bad. I do it a lot. But try to find something that takes your brain away from work, takes your brain away from your daily routine, and you do something that you genuinely have interest in. I bring up knitting because I know, believe it or not, working with athletes, we have to find creative ways for them to relieve their stress because they get put under an immense amount of stress throughout practice and games and seasons. And
Right.
we find all kinds of fun things like putting them through ballet or taking a knitting class or taking a cooking class. And so we do a lot of things outside their comfort zone. And it just takes the brain back a second and lets you realize that while you're heavy and in-depth and knee-deep in whatever you're doing at work or family or whatever else, that there are other things out there that can bring you joy if you just take the time to.
It almost sounds like finding something that maybe makes you think, but think about something you enjoy.
And that goes back to being at the workstation, is if you have a hobby, then you also have something to look forward to when you get done with work.
Yeah.
You can stand up and you can stretch and you can move and you can do all those things, 2 to 3, 4 times a day at your workstation, and all those help. But really the idea of having something to look forward to, whether it be running or exercise or something that is yours, not your kids, not your husbands or wives or girlfriends or boyfriends or dogs, yours, something that is yours and something you can look forward to, it tends to make it a little easier to cope.
Well, give us an example of maybe something we could do at the workstation.
Well, of course you can stand up, which I highly recommend everybody do that. All right. Who's done eating? Everybody done eating? Don't act like you still have food if you don't. If you're done eating, stand up. We're gonna do some stuff. Everybody on your feet. Come on, come on. I'm not gonna be the only one. Okay. If you're still eating, by all means, please continue to eat. So, things that we can do at our station. Now, the first thing that you have to be aware of is what clothes are you wearing. Ladies, specifically, if you're wearing dresses or skirts, be careful with which movement you do. Or make sure that you're at least in an area where nobody can see you. Guys, if you're wearing skirts or dresses, then more power to you, but same rules apply. So what you want to be aware of is whatever you're wearing is going to restrict or be able to do and use movement. So one of the easiest things that you can do, and actually we should do this on a daily basis, is just grab your knee and pull it to your chest and just feel your stretch. Feel a stretch through the leg. Now, if you can't do it without falling over, you'll want to make sure you're next to a wall so you can lean up against the wall. Okay? And the same thing goes for the front of the leg as with the back legs. We just want to pull and stretch. And I fully expect you to do this in between commercial breaks.
Okay, yes, I try.
Now, everybody take your chair, stick it just behind you just a little bit, and then you're just going to sit down, barely tapping your rear end, and then stand up. Do that 10, 15, 20 times. All we're trying to do is get the blood flowing. Keep going. I've already done my squats for the day. All right, we'll say you guys did 20, all right? So go ahead and stand up, and then all you're going to do is bring your arms up, and then without smacking the person next to you down to your side, do a circle, and then come back up. Back down, do a circle the opposite way, come back up. Idea is get each joint moving, okay? I don't really see, with my job, I see the body, human body as circles and dots and lines and vectors, and we're very scientific. So what I want to make sure is that if you have your shoulder's a big dot, we want to move the shoulder. Elbow, dot, move it. Wrist, dot, move it. Just move everything. Do it 2 to 3, 4 times a day. Now, is this going to help you lose weight and get fit? No, it's not. That's a caloric equation that goes into a much longer conversation. But what it does, it gets you up and get the blood flowing, which then helps with the stress. Because now you've taken 5, 10 minutes out of your day to stop looking at your computer, stop answering phones, stop getting on your walkie-talkie, yelling at the guys in the back. Okay? You've taken 5 minutes out of your day to just calm yourself. Nothing else. It's just you. And you can do it for 5 minutes. You get done, sit back down, all of a sudden, everything's right with the world. And then you do it again in a couple of hours. Does that sound like something you guys can do? Yeah. Yeah, 3 of you can? All right. So it's very easy, guys. It's not as complicated as you guys may think, or as you guys, it's not as complicated as you may think, and it's not as complicated as it tends to be made out to be. Exercise programs, losing weight, getting fit, that's all a different conversation. But just little things like that, just getting up, getting moving, taking some breaths, standing, can have a huge effect on your day and how you perceive your day and your attitude throughout the day. So,
Well, and Justin, one thing I hear from people is that they're so busy that they want to just power through and they can't take even a few minutes to get up from email or from calls. And it's easy to think that you're going to be more productive by doing that, but research actually shows the opposite. You'll be more productive if you take 2-minute breaks, and it doesn't have to be more than that. I mean, they've even termed sitting the new smoking as far as how bad it is for your health. So if there's one thing you can focus on, just those couple of minutes can really make a big difference for you.
Okay. Michael, here's one for you. What are some ways we can shift our mindset or even manage our calendar throughout the year to do things that energize us and not drain us?
I think, so there's several things that we can do. I think maintaining a sense of balance, focusing on the things that are important to you, as Justin said, maintaining a steady inflow of things that give you a sense of pleasure and accomplishment. As we talked about in our research on depression, having a steady source of pleasure and accomplishment is really, really important to our own relaxation. As well, when you're planning specifically for the holidays and that kind of thing, you might want to take a piece of paper and put 4 lines, and on the far left-hand side, you might write down in that column what I used to do. Then you would, next column, what I need to do. The column after that would be what I want to do, and then what I will do would be the 4th column. It can help you it can kind of be a compass for you to plan your strategies for the holidays before you get too far into them, if that's possible at this point. But it can kind of help you.
so don't they start in October now?
Right. So it can help you kind of get a sense about where you want to go, what's important to you, and maintain that focus. Kind of. So that would be a couple of things that I would say.
Okay.
But today, and I want to say thank you again for all of you to be here today, present, and it's totally an honor to be here today. And I hope that this snack, what I call it candy, because we eat with our minds. If you go to the store and say you want candy, more than likely you're going to be open to grab a candy than a snack that is super healthy, unless you really like healthy stuff, right? But thank you all for being here today. You are going to get to try this recipe, so let's go ahead and get started.
Okay.
Julie is going to talk about the fun part of the recipe.
Well,
So-
actually, she's doing the fun part. I'm talking about the not as fun
The
part.
nut is fun.
But the nice thing is, I mean, I don't know if you guys can see this, but I love how Chef Zoe has this set up to where it actually looks like candy. So you can have a bowl of these on your desk and not feel at all bad about eating these. It's very nutrient dense, so she's incorporating a lot of different superfoods into this. Superfoods meaning that not only are they giving you good quality calories, but within those calories we're getting a lot of good antioxidants, fiber, very good nutrients for your body. So as you get started, one of these ingredients is quinoa. I don't know if anybody in here knows about that, knows how to use it. It's one of those things, if you've tried it by itself, you probably thought this is really bland. I'm not going to eat this ever again. So we're going to show you how to use it in a different kind of way that will actually add some good flavor to it today.
Yes, and I do want to mention, anybody here ever tried quinoa at home? It's really good, isn't it? I'm going to tell you my favorite way of eating quinoa. When I discovered quinoa, of course, it's more like when you think about savory dishes, but for me, it works really well because I get tired of eating oatmeal in the mornings, and I know how oatmeal is so good for you. But quinoa is one of my favorite things to eat in the morning with a little bit of almond milk. And then you can put cinnamon, whatever, nuts, fruits, dry fruits. And this will be a great option for you guys to eat as breakfast. So let's go ahead and get started. First, I do recommend that if you already have a good brand of almond butter at home, does brand really mean,
Brand doesn't, what you want to look for is natural. So it should be almonds and a little bit of salt, peanuts and a little bit of salt. You don't want any other additives in there if you can help it.
Okay, so raw almond butter, it is important as well, right? Raw. Okay, so let me get my glove. Julie, I want you to help me with this in a minute.
Okay.
So for this recipe, it calls for a pinch of salt And it's just simply to bring all the ingredients together, the flavors. You don't have to utilize it if you don't want to, but it really helps bring down a little bit of the sweetness that we're gonna utilize today, which is gonna come from a natural element that we're using today, which is dates. Dates are kind of like my favorite thing to use as this natural sweetener instead of utilizing something that is not good for you, such as regular sugar, right? So we go ahead and get started with almond butter. I was thinking about this recipe, and peanut butter will work as well, but doesn't it peanut butter have more fat than?
Actually, they're pretty similar.
Oh, okay.
Both are sources of good, healthy fats, so it's not a fat we typically worry about. Fat actually contributes to satiety at your meals. When the food hits down in your small intestine, your body's going to actually produce a hormone that will signal to the brain that you're satisfied from that meal. So without fat, you might actually end up eating a little bit more than you would want to.
Okay, so that, I have that question for the dietitian, because I learn every day or every time we do cooking demonstrations. Sometimes we think something is better than other thing, and I was wrong. It's almost the same thing, right?
Yeah, they're pretty much the same.
Okay, so I was gonna mention the dates, they don't have the seed inside, but you always need to try and see if there's one in there, because sometimes it really, remember we mentioned this the last class we had? And to make it a little
really
softer, yeah, because you can actually get your food processor, it can break inside, so you have to be really careful with that. And also sometimes they're a little hard to use, so go ahead and put them in the microwave for like seconds, maybe 10 seconds, just to get them nice and soft. So dates are going in here. For dry fruits, I wanted to use apricots just because I really like the flavor of the apricots, but you can definitely use cranberries, any type of dry fruit that you have handy at home. The most important thing of the recipe is not to make it complicated for you, and utilize whatever ingredients that you have at home, and you don't have to run to the store and get them. Another thing that I mentioned, Julie, when I created this recipe, instead of using apricots and almonds separately, I did a little bit of trail mix, and with the quinoa, the almond butter, and dates, and that's actually a shorter shortcut, right? So I'm gonna use almonds now. And I was mentioning, Julie, that to you earlier, that it's better to do almonds instead of walnuts. Is there a reason?
Actually, those are probably the top two nuts, just health-wise. Walnuts are actually really good for omega-3s. They're a plant-based source of omega-3s, which are actually really good for your brain health, really good for helping to prevent depression and anxiety. So I think those would be a fine option as well.
Okay, great. So because we're using almonds today. So pumpkin seeds or flax seeds will be, either one will work for this recipe. I really like the pumpkin seeds because I usually have them available in my kitchen. A little pinch of salt, and the quinoa. So quinoa, you can utilize the red one, the white one. It doesn't matter. It's the same benefit for either one, right?
Right.
If you want to get a very intense flavor of the quinoa, one thing to do is to cook, before you boil the quinoa, you can actually roast it a little bit for like 8 to 10 minutes, and it's going to intensify the flavor of the quinoa. Otherwise, you can just boil it. But what I like about quinoa is that 1 cup of dry quinoa will make 2 cups of cooked quinoa. So you can utilize one for this recipe, and the other one you can utilize it for maybe in the morning with some hot milk in the morning as an oatmeal, or maybe incorporate the quinoa into soups, salads, you name it, so many different things,
Oh
right?
yeah, I do it in salads a lot.
So what I added here, what you were explaining about the almonds, I did orange zest. I like citrus flavors just because it kind of really helps with the stress. I don't know, citrus is one of the things that really make me feel much better. Even for my tea, I sometimes put a little bit of orange zest, and it kind of relaxes me. So that's a nice little tip if you like to have a tea with orange. That will be a great option. So let's go ahead and get this all together. To make it easier as well, you can absolutely do because you put everything in the blender all together with the cooked quinoa, but you can actually chop the dates and the apricots before you do this. It'll make it easier as well to get them all nice and soft. So, Julie, isn't this great? We've
It
been
is.
using this for
It's
so
so
long,
easy. I
right?
didn't have to do anything.
You wanna do the
Oh,
honor?
this is mine.
I think we're good.
Guess I could.
So yeah, so you can pulse it or you can get to the right texture that you're looking for. But actually, another thing that you can do, you can utilize a little bit of water if you want it a little softer, or you can do the juice of the orange because you already utilized the orange zest. But you end up with something like this, and it's kind of dangerous to take it out because we don't have a way to rinse it here. But this is the mixture. Now the fun part starts now because I'm gonna wrap this as a candy, right? I got these wraps, candy wraps from, we cannot say names, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's-
Well,
That one store.
I can tell you
That
from
one
this one
place.
store that I went to last week, yes. So you get a mixture just like this, and it smells so good, doesn't it?
Oh, it does smell good.
It smells like healthy stuff.
It
So,
smells like
what you do, you want to, portion is so important as well. For this recipe, you make about 30, but you utilize 1 tablespoon.
Okay.
So 1 tablespoon is good, it's a good snack, right?
Mhm.
And believe it or not, when you have 1 tablespoon of this amazing mixture here, it really takes your hunger away. And it really kind of like takes away if you're craving something sweet, this is a great way of having a healthy snack in the fridge.
Well, this is really balanced. It has pretty much every component we need. It has healthy fats. It has some protein from the quinoa. It has some carbohydrates. So it's a really complete snack. And to give you an idea, 1 tablespoon is about half of a golf ball size, or
Yes.
just about your thumb size if you wanted kind of a visual for that.
I usually have a weight in my kitchen because it's kind of like my office. So if you can buy yourself a weight so that you can weight your portions, I think that's going to be wonderful because you want to be careful with the portions, especially during the holidays. And I think portions are important to have. Even the cupcakes, the mini ones, you can utilize that measurement, and I think it's going to be a good idea.
Just don't
So-
fall into the trap of thinking, because it's so small, I can just have a couple more and
Yeah.
it'll be fine.
Right? But you can have at least 2 tablespoons of this, right?
Absolutely.
Good. So what I did with this presentation, Julie, you want to wrap 1 candy for me and I'll wrap the other one? You just twist it, just like just like that.
That's so easy.
And you just make a nice little candy. And what I do, I put them in a nice glass, put them in the fridge. Make sure you put them in the fridge so that it can last up to 2 weeks. And I think it's fun. You can, when someone comes over, this will be great for, it doesn't have to be the holidays. Throughout the year, you can have a snack like this that really looks almost like a candy, and it makes people think, oh, well, I'm eating something that is not good for me, but it's really good for you. So I think, anybody has any questions so far on the process of how to make it? It's pretty easy. You put everything in the food processor. It's one stop shop, one shop stop.
One stop
So
shop.
that's it. That's all you do, and it's utilizing good and smart ingredients at home. So I always say everything starts in the supermarket, and with the pen and the notepad. Whatever you write, whatever list that you write that you're gonna purchase at the supermarket is really gonna make a big difference at home. So write down the good stuff that you need. Fruits, veggies should be the first ones on the list, and you should always have healthy ingredients are available to you, so you don't have to create something that is not good for you. So whatever you have in the fridge, I think it's gonna make a big difference.
Absolutely.
Right?